Artur, Rehi, and I am an Estonian YouTuber. Today we're making another one of those narrative type of videos. I'm not sitting at my desk, I'm not reacting to anything, I'm just talking to you today about the differences between Estonia and USA. That's a stupid video. Why are you making this? Of course Estonia and USA are different. Yes, but bringing out those key differences I think is a good way for you to learn what Estonia is all about, why it is different, why its identity differs, why its country systems differ. It's a good way for you to learn, and it's a good way for me to talk about those two nations that I like. First difference that you notice if you compare those two countries, Estonia and USA, is size. Of course. Again, you might say, oh, duh, it's pretty damn obvious size. One is big, one is small. Yes, these differences are obvious. I'm just going to open up how they influence why our countries are different because of these reasons. Size, right? US is big. It has almost always been big. Even at the beginning of its days, in 1776, when it was like half of the size, maybe a quarter of its size, it was still big. I mean, US now is ginormous, back then it was just big. So it has never been a small country or a small group of people. It always was a very reasonably big group of people, a very reasonably big land. So the identity which it comes from is very different. It always has been more like, we are independent, we are free, we do what we want, we have our guns, we have our land, we want to be free from the Britain, we want to free the slaves. It's all about what we want to do, we do it now, it's our land, you know, all of that stuff. That I take matters into my own hand. That's very US thinking. In Estonia it's much more like we have been small from the beginning of time. The last ice age went away from Estonia 9,000 years ago, then people came here, small group of hunter-gatherers, they developed into Estonians, into the people who lived here 2,000 years ago. Then the Crusader Knights came, took over this small patch of land, colonized Estonia, made them slaves for a few centuries at least. And the people we identify with has always been a very small group of people dying out for the last 2,000 years. We have never been strong, we have always been more like dying out, oh, we're gonna go any minute now, why are we still here? It's more like that. So this mindset influences us. The slave mindset that we have been servants for the Germans and we have been occupied by anybody, the smallness mindset, the mindset that we have been weak, we have been needing foreign aid for all of the time. It's the second time in history nowadays that we are recognized as a country and people. The first time was 1920s when we had our country for like 30 years, before Soviets and Germans took it over. The mindset is different. Estonians still do have that small mindset, the box. You know, the limits are not physical, the limits are in the head. In the head of Estonians, we are small. We want to be like big countries, we want to copy them. That's why we copy US all the time, because we are so tiny. Don't take this the wrong way. We love our countries. Estonians are quite patriotic actually, but still, subconsciously, we all look up to bigger countries wanting to be like them, which is not what US is doing at all. US is looking at smaller countries, telling them how to behave. We are that smaller country looking up to the bigger ones and accepting those behavioral rules. So this is the difference between Estonian and an American. Nothing to do, that's how these countries are. I'm telling you the truth here. So most of Estonians would not agree with me because they would say, why are you talking these bad things about our country? No, they're not bad, it's just differences. There's some good things about being that small. You know what? Why it's good? Because almost every Estonian speaks at least 2 languages. Very many of Estonians speak 3 languages: Estonian, Russian and English. We are small, we have to learn these languages, we have to be educated for the world. Americans and Russians speak countries, right? Their cultures are huge and big. They kinda don't feel the need or pressure to learn anything because they don't need to. We Estonians, we do need to because we're so small. If we want to work or succeed in the world, we have to know more stuff, more languages. This is one of the positive aspects, there are more. The next difference that comes to mind is culture and identity. Again, obvious, the culture is different. We don't have cowboys here, and a lot of you said that cowboys are just like a very small part of US Texan culture. I don't care, man. Forcing stereotypes, yeah. Estonians have a lot of culture, a very old culture. US has more like a lone culture, but they do have their own culture also. A lot of US personal culture also exists. A lot of it's loaned from European countries. Doesn't really matter. Estonian culture, Estonian folk music, Estonian way of thinking is all influenced with our history. Well, our history was quite bloody, quite oppressed, quite sad. That's why our culture Actually, if you look our folk songs, if you look at some of our choir music is really big in Estonia. Some of it is quite dreary. It's quite sad and it's quite, I like that stuff, don't get me wrong, I enjoy it throughout. If an American would come and listen to some of these Estonian folk songs or Estonian choir songs, they would ask maybe, why are you listening and singing those funeral songs, man? They're so dreary, they're getting me down. Yeah, cultural differences. In America, every state has its own culture, right? It's easy to force this Texan stereotype with a line dance and cowboys, you know, dancing. I don't want to force that right now. But US culture is very closely connected to war, guns, all of that stuff. Hey, before you go crazy on me saying, no, it's not true, listen to me. US has had, I think, maybe 15 years of peace at its whole existence. So it's basically a country that is always in war, which is fine. I mean, nothing wrong with it. If you want to be in war, it's fine. Everybody likes their own things. But I'm telling you, it affects your culture. Again, not in a negative way, it just affects it. US has a gun culture, definitely. It has a cultural identity of looking over the world, you know. Even US foreign policy shows that if they want something, they go and take it. US makes diplomacy in the world, basically. If they want something, whatever country it's in, they can have it in one way or another. Because they have the guns and they have the diplomacy. It's the culture of taking what is yours, or taking even what is not yours but what you want to take. Again, don't take this as criticism, I'm just bringing out the differences. In Estonia, it's definitely not. In Estonia, if you want something, it's more like, I will work for it for 20 years and maybe my children will have it finally. I will die working for it. Basically, it's that. It's like this masochistic German work culture. Very much different from, I want it now, I'm gonna take it now. The third big difference that comes to mind is people and demographics. First of all, let's take the most obvious thing. In America, you have all races, all cultures mixed together in one big United States of America. The Star-Spangled Banner unites them all.
Oh, say, can you see?
In Estonia, I'm gonna be honest with you, we don't even have different races here. We just have Caucasians, if you think about the race, and we don't have different cultures. We have Estonian culture, we have a bit of Russian culture, a lot actually. That's it. Most of Estonians haven't even seen a person from a different race. Like, most of Estonians don't even see people from different races. Like, not like the race card is important here, we don't really have experience in communicating with different people. Honestly, we have lived here for such a long time. We don't have much riches in our land, we don't have good weather, we don't have big wages, so people really don't come here. Only some tourists who really want to see the old town of Tallinn or whatever, but not like these huge masses of immigrants or huge masses of foreign cultural people don't really come here. Maybe they just go to Tallinn for a little bit. So Estonians don't have that experience of foreign cultures. We don't really mingle with foreign cultures actually at all. Most Estonians who don't agree with it haven't really been out of their country. I have lived in Hollywood, I have been to Russia, been to Europe, I've been all over the world actually. I know what I'm talking about. US, on the other hand, is a mixture of cultures. I couldn't imagine US without the mixture of all of the different cultures, all of the foods, all of everything. People are very different on that point. I feel like Estonian people cannot really be who they want to be. We are still in the prison of our own like stereotypes of the past. You know, the Soviet Union just ended 30 or some years ago. We have not gotten over the men and women stereotypes. The social structure is not yet that diverse. We don't have many gay people, or we do have, but they are afraid to come out of the closet. We don't have colored people. We don't have any of that. Estonians need to open up their minds a little bit more. See this? It's a wonderful cup. You see this new background, right? There are states here and there are numbers behind the states. That means how many cups have gone to that state. I am making a competition, which is the Estonian Youtuber Cup. You know, cup is like a victory prize. I've listed all of the orders from the US by the states. Check it out. First place is Washington with 9 orders of the cup. Second place is Texas with 5 orders of the cup. So Texas and Washington are going like boom, head to head, north versus south, like in the good old days, right? And the third place is shared by a lot of states already. So if you want to up your home state, go and order the cup. We have some new orders right now. I'm gonna list them to you. We have Michael Velasquez. I'm definitely butchering your family name here, I'm sorry, but Michael Velasquez, thank you for ordering. And that goes to Texas. We have an order in the name of Wardgow. I don't know which kind of name is it, family name or not family name. Thank you anyway. That order goes to Ohio. We have William Staley. Thank you, William, for buying the cup. That order goes again to Texas. Yeah! Texas is gaining on Washington. We have Philip Perez. Philip Perez. Thank you, Philip. That order goes to New Jersey. We have Eli Pickett, but it's Eli with the Y at the end, so it's Eli. In Estonia we would say Eli Pickett, but Eli Pickett sounds better. That goes to Minnesota. Wow, damn, Minnesota has 5 already. Tristan Rushton. That's like a tongue twister. And that order goes to that heavily difficult to pronounce Mississippi. Mississippi doesn't have any orders. Wow, that's the first one. We have Jared Chang, a very Asian family name. That goes to California. From now on, in every video, I will be updating this post. I could do it electronically, but I'm an old school dude. I live in Estonia, for Christ's sake. I like this sports stuff, so we're having an old school board Estonian Youtuber Cup competition by the state. Thank you for getting the cups. Through this you actually also support the channel. Also, please become a patron. US has a very big military, the biggest in the world, the biggest military spender in the world, 800 bases all over the world. There are no US bases in Estonia, but there are US troops in Estonia. US military is like this outgoing, aggressive, externalizing military. Estonia is quite the opposite. We don't have attack force, we don't have military, we have just defensive forces. In case of defense, we don't have any attack strategies, we just have military in case we need to defend our country from Russia. Yes, who else is going to attack us? Latvia? I don't think so. Since our country is small, our military spending is very small compared in numbers, but in percentages, we are fully paid member of NATO, meaning that we spend a lot for our small country, we spend a lot on military to defend our nation. Our active duty personnel is quite small actually compared to some other countries. To be independent on the military aspect more and more, we want to be able to defend our country, but still honestly we do rely on foreign support and especially on US support on the military. And US is happily giving that unless Donald Trump pulls out his troops from Estonia, which I hope he does not. Number 5, the reason is personal freedom. Estonia is a very highly ranked democracy in the world. People are free here, but it's below US. Yeah, sometimes we go past US, sometimes we are behind US. There are these degrees of freedom that the magazines research, and yeah, US is a little bit ahead of that. Well, we have these phobias against different people. I don't know why. I don't have them. I like different people. I lived in Hollywood, for Christ's sake. But Estonians do have, meaning that yeah, it's not that easy to be fully free here. You can't fully be yourself sometimes because people will look at you weird. Of course, I know it's the same thing in America, in more rural areas. Of course, you cannot be this colorful, flamboyant gay person if you want to, but still there are places in US when you can feel freely and be whoever you want. Now, I'm not telling it's my personal opinion that everybody should be like that, no, definitely not. I'm just saying if people should want to be like that, they can, but not in Estonia usually. So that's why Estonia is a little bit behind in personal freedoms. No one is really forcing you to be anyone else, just the society itself is not yet evolved to that level. Ooh, that was a long video, a lot of talk, but I like these narrative videos. I can do a little bit different from my usual reactions. I can open up some things for you, for me also. If you have suggestions, write them in the comments. I'll try to make this like a weekly or a monthly thing. Besides these reactions, I have something more to give you. Please buy the cup, become a patron. You can win the states competition. If you order the cup, I see immediately which state does it go to. So if you want to beat Washington, you need like 3 more orders south. But as always, my friends, until my next video, stay cool and bye bye.